Welcome to the Logistics Point interviews. I'm Nick Bougiou, the editor of the Logistics Point. Today I'm joined by the head of Environment, Social and Governance at Hermes, Nancy Hobhouse. Nancy, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And my first question is exactly why are logistics organizations now looking into ESG? What is it important?
I mean, it's a great question. So I think there is no doubt that sort of climate change is becoming, a household conversation. It's understood that it's one of the most pressing issues for humanity. So I'm not going to come in and talk to you about why climate change is bad. I think the society has moved forward onto that piece. But I think what's important to talk about is the consequences of this change and in societal understanding of it, and what that is to running a business, and more importantly running a responsible business as part of that. So in terms of where we are and ESG, so all companies will be seeing more pressure to manage their ESG, and that's coming from increased legislation, customer requirements, client requirements, and managing your risk. And that's both with the increase in revenue expenditure, as a consequence of the cost to pollute increasing, and also with potential business continuity risks that are happening. That's, for example, if you're not managing, the mitigation parts of climate change, then you might see an issue with how you're running your business in a few years' time. So in conclusion, it's just looking at the fact that climate change is happening and how companies are managing it as a consequence, what's coming through from legislation and client requirements.
And when we're talking about logistics, very often it is about controlling cost. And
yes.
Unfortunately, we also have to talk a lot about budget. So is this only for big companies that have the budget?
No, I don't think it is. So I think ESG is not a sort of nice to do anymore. It is absolutely part of running a sort of business. And the cost of that is an element, but also there is an opportunity to it. So you can look at things like increased client and employee retention. That's coming from ensuring that your employees have a place to work that they think is fair and just, and also looking at clients and responding to what their requirements are on their climate targets or their D&I targets, for example. You can also look at things in opportunities as in the reduction in your actual revenue costs. So, for example, as we are starting to see the government putting more and more taxation on high polluting points like, diesel and petrol, and they'll tax that harder in order to move to a more sustainable future, the cost to pollute is only going to increase. So if you're moving your fuel use and your resource use within like energy, for example, to a more sustainable way, then your cost to pollute is going to decrease, and therefore your tax should be decreasing too. So this is a good thing, and we can see massive opportunities for this. There's also an element, that if you are working with, and logistics often do, with the retail industry, as part of the British Retail Consortium, have made a commitment to be net zero in their own operations by 2030, and then net zero including their suppliers by 2040. So if you want to be winning new business, if you want to be working with retailers, you need to be, and that's a positive money gain, then you need to be starting to look down this road. There is good news though for the small businesses, because obviously, this seems like a mammoth task, but actually if you're just starting out, there is, so many great low sort of hanging fruit initiatives that don't cost a lot, but will start seeing you a return. And the other additional thing for small businesses is that the larger businesses have already paved the way, paying for the innovation, paying for the new points on it. And now all of these initiatives should be developed and be market ready, if that makes sense. So they are returning in the cost. So they won't, luckily to a certain degree, these businesses that have been forefront in it, like the large businesses, have paid for that sort of innovation to go. So it'll be a lot cheaper for the smaller businesses to go down that road.
And when we're talking about beginnings, you have just begun your role in Hermes.
Yeah.
What is it going to be about? What are we going to do there?
Great question. So I'm 3 weeks into Hermes, and I've come over from the John Lewis partnership. where I was running sustainability over there. So, you know, I'm obviously very early days into it. I'm really excited to be here. So what my plans are first into role, so we're going to look to get a new strategy into place to cover the whole of ESG. And what we would really like to do is sort of increase the visibility of what we're already doing. We do some really great stuff in this space, things like, you know, the parcel lockers, which reduce carbon by almost 90%, you know, other really good initiatives. We want to get that out there more so we can really help customers lead a more sustainable life. But we also want to go beyond what we're already doing. I have never joined a business and had so many people call me up and say, I'm really excited you joined. I've got all these ideas, let's get going. Like, which has been really great. So we're going to pull the strategy together, increase the visibility of what we're already doing, and then it puts a lot of additional stuff on top of that. We are looking at making a green product so our customers can choose to offer that to their clients. And, you know, increasing things like our parcel shop network, like I said, that reduces carbon massively. That's doubling over the next year. And of course, our low carbon fleet. We can't go through a conversation about ESG without talking about our low carbon fleet. You know, moving that to a CNG solution for our larger stuff and that EV for our smaller vans. So there's a lot to do and a lot to get after, but we're pulling all that together and should have it signed off very soon.
And you also mentioned customers. What is the role of customers in ESG?
Great question. So the role of customers in ESG is sort of what requirements they have. So I think there's 2 points. So our customers are often retailers, and you know, our clients are often retailers, and their customers are much more on the sort of, you know, me and you, the domestic, the people who go off and buy. So it's sort of a chain reaction, and we can see that society is moving that, and I think that's coming from new generations coming up, that there is a element of people wanting to shop responsibly, to purchase responsibly. So there is no doubt that everyone will move with customer requirements, and as we are starting to see customers especially, and I don't want to make it generational, but you know, Gen Z are coming up and through, and they're really shouting very, very loudly about this. So this is pushing there for our clients, our retailers and stuff, in order for them to be offering a more sustainable solution for their customers. And therefore it's sort of falling down that chain a little bit, which is a great thing, because, you know, businesses are there to service customers. So when the customers want something that we agree into, because obviously we want a more sustainable, ethical future, that really sort of works really well hand in hand.
Well, thank you very much for your time. And thanks a lot to our viewers. And if you would like to learn more, you can find a bit more information in the description. Thank you very much, Nancy.